What's up, everybody? This is John Raymond coming to you from the workshop, and today I want to give you 4 practical, simple vocabulary ideas for how to play over a minor 2-5-1 progression. I often find that people, when they get to major 2-5-1s, they sound pretty decent, but somehow in the midst of thinking about a minor 2-5-1 and half diminished chords for the 2 chord, or a dominant 7, flat 9, flat 13 chord, or a dominant 7 alt chord for the 5 chord, and pretty soon we're just a little tied up with thinking a little bit too much about what to play on each of these individual chords, and we're not able to hear ideas that help us play through these chords in a way that makes musical sense. So what I'd like to do is give you 4 of these basic vocabulary ideas to kind of get you going. And as we do each one, we'll walk through a little bit of the theory of why these ideas sound good and what they're telling us about a minor 2-5-1. So first, let's just talk about 2 ideas that can help you get started on what to play when you see a minor 2-5 progression that happens in 1 measure, so 2 beats per chord. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this first idea for you in concert F minor, and then we're going to talk about it. Here we go. All right, so let's break down this idea just a little bit. We're essentially starting on the 3rd of the 2 chord, of the half diminished chord, descending down to the 3rd of the 5 chord, and then continuing to descend down to the 3rd of the 1 chord, right? Anytime that you connect thirds when you're playing the changes, it's going to sound great. Easy. Now, one of the things that's apparent with this is when you play that scale all the way down, what do you hear? What do you notice? Well, I think one thing you notice is that if we're thinking in the key of F minor concert, essentially we're playing like F harmonic minor is kind of the scale that works over this sound in order for us to resolve and land on F minor. So if you want to be working on ideas that involve that harmonic minor sound in the home key that you're going to, right? Especially if you can outline the thirds, that's going to help you communicate these chord changes really clearly. I think we can notice a couple other things about this first idea as well. One is when we play the 2 chord, the scale we're using is really that Locrian scale sound, right? We know that because we've known our modes, we've practiced our modes, we know that Locrian scales work over half diminished chords. That can be helpful for you too. And then we also see when we get to the dominant chord, notice that we get that flat 9 happening in the dominant chord as well. And that's an important clue for us as well when we're thinking about minor 2-5 progressions, right? That flat 9 is going to be an important note to signal the 5 chord in and of itself. So let me play for you another idea now that's slightly different, and then we'll talk about that. Check it out. So you can hear that this idea has a similar shape, similar sound to the first one, but it's a little bit different, right? This time we're starting with an ascending arpeggio, or we're just going up the arpeggio from the root, flat 3rd, flat 5th, flat 7th of the 2 chord, then getting to that 3rd of the dominant chord and going down the scale and resolving on the 3rd of the minor chord. Right? Both of these ideas actually work really well also if you take the back half of the idea and you displace it up an octave, right? So when you get to that flat 9, displace it up and then resolve back down to the 3rd of the minor chord. They would sound something like this. Something like this is a really easy way to change a simple vocabulary idea that you have and make it sound fresh in a new context. So this could be a great thing to work on, taking these ideas through all the keys, playing those minor 2-5 progressions that happen in 1 bar. All right, so now let's talk about 2 ideas that you can play and get started with on a minor 2-5 that lasts for 2 bars. So we're thinking here G half diminished for 1 bar, C7 flat 9 for a 2nd bar, and then in the 3rd measure we're finally resolving to F minor. So check out this idea. So let's take the first part of this line. As we look at what's going on over the first chord, the 2 half diminished chord, we can see that we're kind of ascending and descending within that Locrian mode, that Locrian scale, over the 2 half diminished chord. And this is an important thing because if you start on the beat on any of the chord tones of root, flat third, flat 5, and you ascend or descend in any way, you're going to land on a strong beat on one of those chord tones again, right? Which helps you clearly communicate that half diminished chord. So that could be a good strategy as you develop your own language and your own vocabulary, is to explore how you can get around that Locrian sound in that kind of way. Another thing that we see is when we get to that 5 chord, we see that arpeggio, 3, 5, 7, flat 9, and then a little enclosure at the end, right? That arpeggio shape is a really common shape that we see in all of the masters of this music. So if you can master that shape and get that into your playing in a fluid way, that's going to help you not only communicate the 5 chord, but it's going to signal that minor 1 chord that's coming up next. So let's do one last idea here. This again is a 2-bar minor 2/5 vocabulary idea, and it goes like this. Okay, so let's check this out. So over the half diminished chord here, we have something a little bit different happening that we haven't done yet. And that is, we're really outlining this triad that's starting on the 3rd of the half diminished chord and ascending, right? It's really like we're seeing and playing B flat minor over G. And there's a reason for this. This is actually pretty amazing. And when I first realized it, it kind of blew my mind, and it was a total game changer for how I approached playing over half diminished chords. Back in the day, people didn't used to refer to half diminished chords as half diminished chords. They used to talk about them as minor 6 chords with a 6 in the bass, right? So like in this case, it would be B flat minor 6 with the 6, G, in the bass. The reason is because the most melodious, harmonious part about playing over this half diminished chord is when you approach it like a minor chord, starting a minor 3rd up from where that root of the half diminished chord is. Right? For me, I saw this most clearly when I got into Clifford Brown's solo in Woody and You, live at the Beehive. He's doing this all over the place, and I couldn't really believe it until I started to actually try to do it myself and think of all these half diminished chords as a minor chord starting a minor 3rd up, right? But all of a sudden I had all of this vocabulary playing over half diminished chords that I'd never had before because I'm accustomed to playing over minor chords. We all are, right? So try this yourself. Try to create vocabulary lines, clear ideas where you can access this minor sound over the half diminished chord. Again, starting a minor 3rd above where the root is. And I bet you're going to notice a huge difference in how much more fluidly you're playing over these half diminished chords. So this is obviously not an exhaustive list of vocabulary. There's a lot further that we can go with it. But I hope these ideas at least give you a starting path to go on as you're working on hearing and playing over minor 2/5 progressions. Let me know if you guys have any comments or any questions. I'm happy to help anytime. And good luck with all the shedding, and we'll see you soon.